Hello, everyone. Welcome to our final session of the 2023 Global Math Stories Conference, a 360-degree journey of rich tasks. We're so glad you have made it this far with us. Today, I have the honor of presenting my friend, Margarita Martinez, who will be facilitating this closing session for us. Margarita is a longtime friend and volunteer with MathKind. She currently serves on our Education Advisory Board and supports the development of our programs around the world. Margarita has several master's degrees in sciences and education, and she teaches at the ESPOL University in Guayaquil, Ecuador. Additionally, she is the founder of AHA, Parque de las Ciencias, which is a park connected to ESPOL, to the University of ESPOL, that has opportunities for young people and teachers even to come and to learn and to play with science, to discover, be creative, and make connections. So when I think about people who I know here in Ecuador or around the world in general, who not only care deeply about education, but who are doing something about that to make sure that every student has the opportunity to learn deeply and build their critical thinking skills, I think about Margarita. The work she does is really important, and I'm really excited that we get to learn with her this afternoon. So Margarita, I will turn things over to you.
Bueno, muchas gracias.
Thank you. It is always a pleasure to be able to participate in these different events that have as a goal to be able to reach professors so that math education can have another dimension. It is a pleasure to be able to have this conversation with everybody. Since it is not so many of us, it is very important that you participate. We are going to be doing a summary of what we have been seeing so far during these sessions. So the idea is that we are going to be completing the journey. And where are we going to be landing as we complete the journey? In our country, we basically have a saying that it's donde las papas queman, which is basically the time of truth. Because everything can be really beautiful. A lot of theory, a beautiful curriculum. In my country right now, we're talking about what we're going to change because we had kinesics and we're going to go back to a trimester. And that's not really that transcendental. But I think it's important to focus on what's really important in the classroom. Like we saw during the last session, we have been really taking advantage of this resource, which is the stories worldwide, these global stories that allow us to connect math with everything that's happening around us. And this allows us to really enrich the culture of our young people. And this is very important. So we saw that we can look for these stories and we can try to carry out an activity based on that. And another thing that I think is important for you to think about and think about a possible goal is not just designing activities, but creating your own story or creating a tool or activity, something that you can incorporate into this great research that we have in MathKind. So this is what we have carried out, our timeline. So let's go ahead and see which of these things have actually stayed with us, right? Because after everything's said and done, after you talk in the classroom, after you've taught, what really stays, what remains. So what was your percentage of attendance in the sessions? Did it come to all of them? 80, 60? The advantage of this tool that we have here in Participate is that if you have some type of difficulty with your connection or with the schedule, then you can go back and listen to the recordings and not miss out on this information. So then you are able to reach the 100%. Before doing the summary, I did want to talk about something that I am working on here in Guayaquil, Ecuador, which is that I am trying to reach professors with how it is so important that we teach covering these 5 threats of mathematical proficiency. So we should not only focus on the second one, which is the one that we focus on, which is like the procedural fluency, which is the ability to carry out procedures in a flexible, accurate, efficient, and appropriate way. Like if I have to multiply or add, divide, do graphics. But to be able to teach math really requires so much more. It requires a conceptual understanding, which is connecting what you are teaching to other things. And in this journey, in some way or other, we have been able to connect some mathematical concepts with geography, cultural, social components, and also another important thing is a strategic competency. So you make a statement of a word problem. So we have the peaks and the mountains, and we have these clues. And what am I going to do? How am I going to convert these clues into a solution? Or maybe they gave me this idea that we had X amount of heads and X amount of legs, and how are we going to figure out how many goats and how many birds? So these are important things. The other one, too, is adaptive reasoning. And this is one that is really important, that has really come out during this journey that we have taken together. And this is the ability to think logically, critically, reflectively, and be able to explain things and really justify things. So I'm going to make an argument about my reasoning. So it's not just math. It's not just a question of number and account. It is also having the ability to be able to make an argument for that or to give an explanation. And this is quite important. And another thing that's really important is what they call productive disposition, which is what? Basically, this is like having the habitual inclination to see math as very useful and of great value, and also couple that with a great belief that one is effective or efficient or able to do this math. And this is important in the classroom. So maybe make a comment of what has really caught your attention during this journey. So again, conceptual understanding, understanding everything, procedural fluency, strategic competency, which has to do to choosing the right way, to convert a situation into math and solve it, adaptive reasoning, which is how do I explain it or justify it, or how do I know if this is enough information, or is it giving me information that's not necessary? And then above everything, the productive disposition, which is being able to see the math around me, being able to understand what's important. And so I can really understand these things. It's not that I need like a math gene to be able to understand it. So this is what we're talking about here in terms of the identity or math identification, math identity. So these are some of my beliefs in terms of math and my potential. So as we traveled and visited and journeyed through these different places and encountered some mathematical problems, you are working on this strategy. In MathKind, we also have some different strategies. And I think an important concept that we've been talking about has been to really focus on relevant topics. So how these stories are going to be able to hook the student so that his or her learning is really significant. So that is what we want to accomplish. We want to make sure that they understand that their learning is going to be useful to them in their life. And then to be able to also give challenging tasks or challenging homework. And that is one of the most important things that we have as teachers is, oosh, now I'm going to teach them about denominators, that the going to teach something like quadratic equations, and how do I do this in a way that they really get engaged? Because the first requirement for students to be able to learn is that they will have to want to learn. If they don't want to learn, you can do whatever you want and it's just not going to work. And in order for them to want to learn, you have to really engage them or hook them. Okay, so we started with the famous day of pi, and we talked about a couple of different things that were really interesting. And I think this joke is really good over here, you know. The mom is calling and saying, 3, 14, 15, da, 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 come here right now. And we've all experienced that, right? I think this is pretty universal. That when our mom gives us your full name, that they call you by your first, middle, last name. Uh-oh, when they call me my full name, then I know it's serious. So anyways, we saw some activities like this during Pi Day. Okay, so this is a challenge that I want to propose. When is this part of the whole the whole component? So which of these 4 objects does not belong to the group? So which of these is not part of a set? You can go ahead and put it in the chat or raise your hand. Then we're also going to talk about a reasoning, right? You're going to explain that why you selected that. Okay, quickly, let's go. Which one does not belong to the set and why? Well, it's very few of us, so you can go ahead and just speak. Just raise your hand.
Someone said D. Why? Lucy, tell me why. Why does it not belong to the group? Lucy, can you speak? Because it's an oval. Good. Yes, it's true. And this means that the rest have something in common that the oval doesn't have. What do the rest have in common? Normally, when we do this type of activities, it's better in some way to be able to put this here. Let me go back. Then the pattern of doesn't belong to, because the rest have different characteristics, but D doesn't have it. D does not belong because it's an oval. And what happens with the rest? A, B, C. They have a diameter. Yes, it's what they say. Right. They have a circle at the bottom. The rest have circles. The sphere, the cylinder have a circle. And because of that, they have diameters. Great. Is this the only answer? Can someone give me another one? What Lucy said, it's perfect. This is something interesting about this type of activities because it helps us think or to justify or to realize that there sometimes, not always, there's only one answer. So it would be good to have some patterns or images that would allow you to have different solutions. Anyone else? Someone that doesn't agree with Lucy and finds another one that doesn't belong to this group. Jorge, what is the other one that you think doesn't belong to the group? I think that A does not, because the circumference is vertical and the others is horizontal. For instance, it's horizontal, the one that it's marked, and the cylinder, the bases are horizontal. And the oval is oval, but it doesn't have a circumference. So, but the other two are horizontal and this one is vertical. Good. That is one way of looking at it. In other words, the rest, when there is a curve that could be a circle or an ellipse, because B, even if it represents a circle, it looks like an ellipse. They're all horizontal. But the circumference, you see it in the first plane. What could be the next one? We've seen that you can choose A, D, what else? A little bit reinforcing the D is that the rest have pi and the ellipse, no, but Pau has another option. Pau, go ahead. I'm gonna say B. Why B, Pau? I think the others are into D. They are in a computer, they're all in the D, but at least like an object, because of the shade, it could be in 3D, while the others are more flat. That's right. That is another option. So we see how in this type of exercise, it's not just a matter of choosing, but knowing how to justify your answer. And sometimes there isn't just one answer. Melba says that B and C belong to solids. It's true. And the other one are flat. In these type of exercises, the idea is to identify which ones do not belong to the group. All right. Sorry, Margarita. Mr. Carlos raised his hand. Tell me, I hadn't seen him. Yes, thank you. The other one is the cylinder that doesn't belong because the A, B, and D practically they all have curves, but the other one has, it does have the curves, but it has also lines, straight lines, and that's a different. Great. This drawing that represents the solid has segments that it has a straight lines, while the others don't. Yes, beautiful. So practically, we have been able to see the different options. So what was the new thing that you saw in Pi? What was new and what do you think you can apply in your classes? What was new? What did you learn? What was surprising when you heard the Pi presentation? You can just open up your mic and tell us what you think you can apply in your classrooms. Go ahead, Carlos. Yeah, well, about everything I find that they're excellent, good, great ideas and things that can be applied. For instance, from what the first part that they talked about, the scavenger hunt is a great activity for leisure activities. We're having problems with the connection with Carlos' connection. It seems that we have problems with the connection, Carlos. We continue to have problems with the internet. Perhaps, Carlos, you could participate via chat because there seems to be a problem with the internet and we couldn't listen to your comments. The other option could be to turn off the camera to improve connection and only use the audio. Melba, can you comment? Yeah, first of all, I love the introduction that Pi was March 14th, 314. I had not made that relation. That's an important part. It's to relate the topics with certain realities. Also, the way in which the seminars have started with guiding questions with the student. In this case, we have in the students, we give idea which we propose mathematical topics, and we can now guide the students to where we want them to go. Without noticing, they do it in a way that is contextualized. We have more than the math class, it becomes a life story, a sharing of experience that includes so much new knowledge. Thank you very much. That is definitely one of the objectives. And I love that it has been accomplished. We're going to continue because otherwise we're going to run out of time. From there, we went to Filipinas, alive in the Sulu Sea, and you see some photos about these Lepa Lepa boats. And now I have an activity that has to do with the principle of monitoring learning and provide feedback. So the idea is that when we are giving our classes, we are monitoring. Cali was monitoring to see how we were doing and gradually supporting us in getting mathematical considerations in the stories. Which one do you think does not belong? The same. Why, which one does not belong and why? A, B, C, and D, and why? There isn't just one solution. It depends on what you see and what you think. Melba, I'd say B, because A, C, and D, I see children, but in B, I can see them. Very good, excellent. Another one of the reasons why B could be is because B is a Lepa Lepa boat. It's bigger. The other ones you see, they're smaller, 5 by 15. They're very narrow. The child is right there close to the water. What else besides B? Anyone else? Can you think of another one? No? Jorge? I think A, because A only has one passenger. The rest have more than one. Although B, is there someone there or not? I don't know. Maybe I think it's a shirt. I don't know. Is that a person? No, I think there is a gentleman in the back. That's right. Okay. So because there's only one passenger, one tripulant. That's right. It could be A because it's the only one that you see the homes on the water. You can see the homes on the water, perhaps, or maybe in the D back there. I don't know. So you can see how in any of these things you can develop which does not belong to. Does anybody have any newer ideas? Maybe because of the color of the water as well, they're different. What do you think? Which one is completely different? I think B. B, the water, seems different to the other pictures. Very good. And what was new and what do you want to apply in this issue of the Philippines? Something new that caught your attention? For me, is that I have never heard of nomads in the sea. This is completely new for me. Cali had said D because it's fishing, and I don't see that same activity in the rest of the pictures. What new things and what do you think you can realize or apply in this story? Social justice topics and connect with other areas. Very good. So the idea is social justice.
Anything else? Okay, let's continue and see what else. We covered Morocco. Remember that story with the goats? And seeing how the goats climbed up and how high could they go. And again, let's identify which one does not belong and why. And we are putting into practice adaptive reasoning to be able to justify and relate it to the lessons and such. So which one does not belong and why? Let's see, the experts in goats and in Morocco. Margarita, I would like to say that C does not belong because it is the image where we have more goats climbing, and in the other one, we have 3 goats. Okay, but the B has no goats. Could you make it larger? Oh, sure. Oh, you're right. Oh, then I think C because it has the most amount of animals in contrast to the others that have 3. Very good, very good. That's one option. Yes, I have 3 animals, and C, I have more animals. Which one? What other option is there? Lucy put that B because they're not animals, they're just shadows. Okay, okay. B because it's the only one where I am not actually showing a picture of the animal, but it's a shadow. What else? Oh, D because they're not goats. All of the rest are goats. So that way we can see how we are working with adaptive reasoning. And there's not just one solution. It is going to depend on what I am noticing. And that's good because that way students are not feeling like they're not smart or they're not getting it right, because not always do we have to have that one solution. Okay, so for this story, what is new and what do you think you can apply? So what was new? If somebody can help me with the chat, because when I'm projecting the full screen, I can't see the chat. So if somebody can help me with that, that would be great. So again, what is new and what can you put into practice? So the new in Morocco would be that great ability that the goats have. In my country, the goats don't quite don't climb trees, really. And I also identified this with the slope, in particular with these pictures that are in the additional information. So we have these goats that are pretty much vertical. So I had thought of doing a game with the children or the adolescents in which we can put a slope, and depending on how inclined it was, it can go up and they can see how hard it is to climb when the slope is higher, no? And this can connect with the goats. Okay, let's do Venezuela now, the cable car in the clouds. And we did this particular marvelous journey. And then here we talked about that we have to make sure that we have a very equal or equitative sort of that people are very involved in an equal manner, so they can everybody participate, and that happened with the clues. So normally you can give a clue to each one of the participants so that they can all do something. So one of the problems that we have sometimes when we work in a group is that sometimes there's one that's working really hard and the other ones don't do anything. So how do you make sure that everybody gets involved? So let's do it again. Which one does not belong here? And why? Go ahead, Melba. I think B, because we have the plants that were given to us in the class. They look like they're sunflowers, but they're not. So B, I think it's B because they're flowers and the other ones are mountains. Okay, very good. That's a good logic. One is a flower, the other one's mountains. Lucy, what do you think? I think A does not belong because it's a different type of mountain. You can tell that the other ones have snow, and this one does not have any snow. But B does not have a mountain. So to select, you have to see that the other three do have a characteristic that the other ones have. So for example, B is a flower, the other ones are mountains. It's true that A does not have any snow, but B does not have snow either. Okay, who else? Melba already spoke. Anybody else? Jorge, the expert. Let me know. I think C does not belong because it has people in the picture. The other ones do not have people. Yes, very good. So C has some people and the other ones do not have any any people on it. And what about D? Would anybody think that D does not belong? I think that D does not belong. Why not, Superpower? Because of how close the picture is. Like most of them are very close, they're very close to the object being photographed, and the other one is at a distance. Yeah, could be. Yes, yes, that's a good reason. And the reason that I chose it is because A, B, C belong to Mérida and that area. It's Cotopaxi. It is Ecuador. I wasn't sure. I thought I was going to recognize it. Margarita, why do you know that it is Cotopaxi? Or why do Ecuadorians know that? I don't know if you know it, but I took a picture of the Cotopaxi. Oh, you can see it very clearly. It's that peak and that crater. And also because of the cone, it's like an inverted cone. Yes, the other ones are peaks. Like A is Bolivar, C is Humboldt, but they're peaks. It's not like the one over here, which is a volcano. Very good. Okay, so what was new and what do you want to put into practice? So something new. I like the strategy that we did yesterday quite a bit. And even what Margarita said a moment ago, to appreciate that the student has to learn in a group. And that not only the more intelligent one is going to do everything, but through the activity and the activity of the cards, for example, made it so that each participant had an important piece of information, and that way they could all work together in order to be able to find the answer. So I really enjoyed that, to really encourage people to be able to participate, and that way we can have the final result. And that's really important in math, to really work as a team. And then what happens to the team sometimes is that the smartest one does the job and everybody else sort of gets the benefit of getting that good grade. So it's important to really look about how we can work together in a group. And sometimes students don't like to do that. They don't like to work in a group because really not all of them participate. They're not all really contributing and collaborating. So I really liked this story and I would put it into practice with logical reasoning so that everybody can participate. Excellent, excellent. And in that regard, both Paola and Jorge could connect to the research. There's a book actually of one of the collaborators called Háganlo Juntos. Let's do it together. And it explains this concept of doing the cards, like having the cards for different topics. And it's a really, really great resource. Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Okay, let's continue on our journey. And today we did the reindeer competition. Okay, so let's do it again. Which one of these does not belong to this step? Lucy, which one does not belong? B, because there's no reindeer. Very good. On the image B, we only have the rider, and they actually weigh themselves. That's what we showed in the story. that the rider has to like weigh themselves for the competition, but we have no reindeer. Very good. Melba, which one do you think? I would say D because the animal is not competing at this moment. Okay, that's true. But there's something even more characteristic about the image D. Oh, yes. This reindeer in particular is different.
Has its they
They, and let's thinking about the questions that asking to do that. Jorge, did you raise your hand? Oh, well, I wasn't sure if it was a reindeer or not, but I don't know if they cut them off or not, but maybe it's because of the wind. And maybe it's more weight on their head if they have the horns. Maybe they go faster without the horns. Of course, of course. And also, they could get maybe tangled up with the other competitors as well. I thought it had to do with like the power, like the horns had to do with the alpha or something, and maybe has to do with that, with the topic of power. If they get like sort of like a really alpha male, then there wouldn't be a competition. I don't know. I'm wondering about that because there is a relationship between horns and power, but I don't know. We have to investigate. But it's not that they don't have any horns, that they cut them out. But I wonder how that affects them. Having the horns for a competition, I wonder how that would affect them in terms of the topic of power. I don't know. Just a question.
I also don't know. Patricia was saying in the chat are to avoid accidents, but that will also be animal cruelty. Yeah. To what degree do the reindeers suffer when you cut them? Obviously, if they're going to live in freedom, it would be a problem. They seem to be domesticated. I don't know. I saw a lot about the principle 3 that Chad focused a lot in his question. Why try to find many questions in the story? And that was very interesting. So what's new? What do we plan to apply about this in Finland? We also saw the Canaries, but I don't have about the Canary Island, the Canary Island. But what Chad was saying, what for you is very common, for other communities or other cultures is very strange, like the Ecuadorian. And I'm sure we could think of things that are common here and for other places it's not. And with the idea of collaborating, I'm going to show you some of the things that I do in my classes, and this thing of which one does not belong to the group, you could apply to anything. Since pre-kinder, they put animals, little ducks, little hearts. To on university level, I have 4 systems of equations. I have proportional logic, which one does not belong to the group. I have reasonings, which one is not valid, or I have structured algebra, and which one doesn't belong to the group. So we don't have to go into this right now. So it's just to see that it doesn't matter the context, these type of activities of putting 4 options and electing which one doesn't belong is a good icebreaker, and everybody starts sharing and getting engaged, and that they learn about this reasoning, because math is at the center of the conflict when the teacher is going to teach math. A lot of people have the paradigm that math has only to do with numbers, or only measurements or accounts or things to count or numbers, and it's not how it works. So this is what we ask. In a few years, the word numbers appears the most, and even there are two numbers, números, right? One with accent, one without. But in our Ministry of Education, for instance, when we got visited, they spoke about math was a language that describes natural and social realities through numbers and graphics, but I don't like this definition. I love this one. Well, there are two of them, and this is the one that we're trying to teach. Math is the study of patterns. Mathematicians identify patterns, describe patterns, and then they can generalize patterns. So we want that in the class, the boys identify, and the boys and girls describe and identify patterns. Many years, very famous Lockhart compare a mathematician with an artist, a poet, a musician, and so on. And the difference that Hardy say is that the patterns are more permanent because they are done with ideas, not with paper, nothing that can be corrupted. A mathematician said, do you want to gift to your girlfriend to the last forever? Give her math. He wrote a text called El Lamento Matemático, the math sorrow. And it spoke that for him, mathematicians are the art of the explanation. So he was saying that you could be giving many math classes, do a lot of studies and counting, accounting and so on, but if the reason the why, if you deny the students the opportunity of making conjunctions, justifications, of making mistakes, of discovering, then it's a fraud. Then you're not really teaching math. The art of math is not in the truth, it's not in the procedure, but in the explanation and the argumentation. So that's why it's so important. And this is what Paul Locke was saying. Math is the art of explanation. And why are math so sensitive? And why do we have to be careful since elementary school? It's because sometimes the traumas regarding math come because you made feel the child feel useless or dumb. It's very important how we make them feel. You can have two politicians or two philosophers discussing for hours, and each one thinking that they're right and that's it. And mathematics is not like that. It's easy to prove that one is right and one is wrong, and that's why it makes the math dangerous depending on the environment. So we need to provide a safe environment where our students have the opportunity to make mistakes, to debate, and not this idea that they're going to jump down a hill and they're going to be exposed or criticized. This is the organization that this organization provides. And I wanted to talk about the math competency. And it talks about making judgments and make decisions that are very well based. It talks about formulate and employ and interpret. So this is very important. This is key. It's not about just giving numbers. We could see news like for instance, this type of things and see the geometry of the problem. We can, like during the pandemic, analyze this type of graphics that it spoke about, you know, mortality based on whether you're a man or a woman, and you had to do different math depending on the age, and different treatment depending on age had to be different. It wasn't all the same. We could talk about distribution of wealth, and we're going to have a quick activity. I don't know if I have time. I'm not going to be here for long, but the idea is that everything around the world, there are these problems of injustice, and you talk about the concentration or the distribution of wealth. So we're going to do an exercise with your divisions and your postcards or your paper. If I have children and I organize them from older to younger, I divide them in 3 parts. Each part would be a third, and I can measure the smaller third and see how many centimeters they add up to. And then I do the same with the second third and then the third. I am organizing from older to younger. We're going to do the same thing with the wealth. Organize from older to younger, but not regarding height, but regarding how much you make, how rich you are. And we're going to divide them in 5 sections. In the first section, you're going to have the 5th poorest. In mathematics, you're saying the first 5th, you're talking about fractions with your kids. You have a 5th, a 5th, and 5th, and you're dividing in 5th equal parts. And on the other end, you have your famous macaroni. How many macaronis you have? Jorge told me that he had 80. Somebody could have 200. I have 100. How many macaroni does Paola have? She didn't count them, but she had to count them. Anyway, the idea is that you distribute all the macaroni on this section of 5th parts according to what you think is the wealth of the first 5th of the poorest, the second more poorer, the third 5th more poor, the 4th closer to the wealth, and the 5th who is the one that earns the most. So let me see if I can change so that you can see, only so that you can see. You have to distribute it according to what you want. Okay, perfect. Look what I have. I have a macaroni. I have 100, and I have my board divided in 5th parts. So I can say, this is what I think the poorer people have. This is the second. These are the third. These are the 4th, and these are the richer. More or less like you consider that you think richness is distributed in Ecuador. And you can finish with a distribution of however you consider it. So the only thing that I would want is that after you distribute it, as you consider it, is that you could tell me so I can know if you have 80, how many of the 80 you put in the first quintile, and the second, fifth, or third, or fourth, fifth. This is what we have to do. So you have to work it with little kids, and they know what they can count, and they have an idea of how much wealth will the poorer or have compared to those who are richer. So you divide it in quintiles or quintiles. Could you give me some of the data? Do we have any? Do I already have some data? Some of the numbers. I have a doubt. I'm representing the amount of people or the amount of money, because you already divided the people. You divided the people. Let's say that we have 5 million of Ecuadorians. The first quintile means that there are 3 in the second, another 3 millions, and the next one another 3 millions, because you have divided all Ecuadorians in 5 equal parts, and you have organized them in greater than or less than according to the money. So the macaroni does not represent the people, but the wealth. Do I have any results? Okay. I'm going to show you. This is what an economist said, that she believed, not the solution. This is what she thought. And we have 100 macaroni. Oh, let me see, Paola. How many in the first quintile? Put it in the chat. How many? I also finished.
So they put 5, 10, 15, 20, and then 50. That's what the economist said. So let's see how much is Pao going to say, how much Jorge is going to say. You got 0 in the first one. The ones that are in the street and have nothing for health. But it's 3 million people, though. I put 50 because it's the smallest unit, so I put 50. Unless I divided it. Oh, she put 148, 2265 by Cali. Okay. So I'm going to put down the data because data is not so exact in Ecuador that other places, but this is the one. Look at that. Here it is. 0.5%, 1.9, 4.8, 12, and 81%. So then this allows you to talk about with the students about this. And this activity came out of this article that came out in a magazine and is talking about social justice. And the professor explained that she puts the students there, and in her case, I think it was 700 pastas so that they could like distribute it. And then when they distributed this macaroni, the 0, the 0.1, 0.2%, 1.67, 1088, that's the one in the US. And when she started taking out the macaroni and saying, there's too many there, they were like, no, why? They would get to be so sad because they were not aware of the injustice. So I think this is a really interesting activity. So I want to finish by showing you what should happen in math classes according to Joe Boller. So they should be able to believe that everybody can learn, that it's not about genetics, that the problems can be focused and resolved in an equitable manner. There's not just one way. It's not like what the professor said or what the teacher said, that errors have value because they allow for growth. And that math is going to help you in your life and in your development, in developing your thought processes. Because we all have to think. That's what she believes. So the other side is what students should do in class. They should ask questions, investigate, try different perspectives. They should always be receiving messages of growth, to be evaluated in a way that's appropriate in terms of the child's formation. It's not just about a grade at the end, it's about the whole process. So we want to establish a difference between having the kids engaged, curious, or bored and distracted and mad. And that is going to depend on what we do. It depends on the type of society that we want to have for our children's children. So they need to be happy. They need to be engaged and interested in learning, and for them to enjoy, so that they continue to learn for the rest of their lives. So the challenge for all of you is to think, how do I take advantage of all these resources? How do I put everything in context in my classes? How to really engage my students? And how to give them the opportunity to discover the art of explanation, the art of patterns. Thank you so much. I hope that we can continue to learn together. If everybody can take a picture of the image that they took, that would be great. Yes, yes, if you could upload it, that would be wonderful.
As
Part of your evidence, and also of the unjust distribution of wealth. Does anybody else have a question? Cali.
Thank you so much, Margarita. Muchas gracias, Margarita. Ya que vamos cerrando todo, ya voy a hablar en español mejor. Pero muchas gracias, muchas gracias a cada uno de ustedes por estar aquí en este viaje con nosotros. Voy a compartir una encuesta en el chat aquí de Zoom, pero también va a estar publicado en Participate en un par de minutos. Cuando ustedes entren en Participate, en el último capítulo del curso, deben ver la encuesta allá y ahí pueden también subir sus reflexiones para poder ganar su insignia digital. Esto es algo que puedes descargar y compartir con sus directivos y agregar a sus portafolios profesionales. Muchísimas gracias. Estamos en contacto dentro de Participate y que siga el aprendizaje y colaboración.
And may the learning and collaboration continue.